Today's video is one that has been requested by a couple of viewers. So, by popular demand, here's a quick and concise video that explains what's a really good soil mix for the peyote. A soil mix that works fantastic not just for repotting peyotes, but also for starting them from seeds. The peyote is a little more demanding in care than the San Pedro, which is just a mad, unstoppable growing machine. Peyote is slow growing and prefers a specific soil mix. Now, there is no set formula for a peyote soil mix, but most people will agree it has to be free draining and with little organic material. There are many other soil mix recipes for the peyote, with varying ingredients and proportions. So if you have a soil mix recipe that has worked well for you, please share it with us in the comment section below. In this video, I will share with you two recipes. One that I recommend to everyone and that includes only store-bought ingredients, and another one that involves soil from your garden if you live in an area where cacti grow wild naturally. That second recipe is the one I currently use, but I've also used the first one with great results. First off, here's my recipe using store-bought ingredients. 50% or 2 parts coarse sand, 25% or 1 part pumice or perlite, and finally 25% or 1 part potting soil. Some people do 1 part each of the same ingredients, which is a third of each. That kind of mix will be heavier on organic material, which here is the potting soil, as it will be 33% instead of 25%. I personally prefer to have less organic material for the peyote, so I'll stick to my recipe. Let me go through these 3 ingredients. For the sand, do not get sand from the sea, as it would contain too much salt, unless you're prepared to boil it and rinse it a few times. You can pick up sand from a river, or more simply, you can buy river sand. You can also buy silica sand, which is very easy to find in hardware stores. The one I get is silica sand, marketed for filtering water in swimming pools, and it's perfect. Now the pumice. It's a volcanic rock, well it's actually glass, and comes in various sizes. The one I get is 3 to 6 millimeters. That's 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. You need to get them about this size. For growing peyotes, I prefer pumice to perlite. If you cannot find pumice, you can use perlite. And lastly, the potting soil. Try to get unfertilized soil, especially if you're growing from seeds. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of removing all the pieces of bark and other hard bits you can find in the soil. To do that, you will need a mesh sieve. You can buy one in garden stores or hardware stores. I personally use the front half of the blade protection from an old fan. Now I will show you my alternate recipe, which I mentioned earlier. It is derived from the previous recipe, but integrates some local soil from your garden, if you live in a hot region where cacti grow wild naturally. Take a look at the soil from where I live, in sunny Barcelona. It's very sandy, perfect for cacti. I don't know what's the proportion of organic material in that soil, my guess would be about half. My recipe using local sandy soil is 30% coarse sand, 25% pumice or perlite, 15% commercial potting soil, and 30% local soil, which I guess is made up of roughly 15% sand and 15% soil. In parts, that represent 6 parts sand to 5 parts perlite to 3 parts commercial soil to 6 parts local soil. So we have 30% sand from the shop plus 15% sand from the local soil. That makes a very approximate total of 45% sand, which is fine for peyotes. And 15% soil from the shop plus 15% from the local soil, that makes a total of 30% organic material, which is also fine for peyotes. An advantage of this second recipe is that it will have less commercial potting soil in it, and therefore less peat moss. Because you see, peat is acidic, and the peyote does not like an acidic soil. But this last recipe is only really an option if you have access to sandy soil where cacti grow wild naturally. I will go into more details about soil acidity for the peyote and how to amend it with limestone in the part 2 of this video coming up next week. If you are growing peyotes from seeds and you want to sterilize the soil, which is a good idea but not an obligation, I recommend you check my video Sterilizing Soil for Cactus Seed Starting, as well as its companion, How to Sterilize Sand and Pumice. I should also mention that some commercial cactus soil mixes can work okay for peyote, if you don't want to bother with making your own. My dad grows his peyotes with commercial cactus soil, and that works fine for him. It looks like he's found a commercial cactus soil that works pretty well for his needs. That's it for today. Make sure you don't miss the part 2 of this video at next week, where I will give you an alternate recipe more advanced, with among other ingredients, coco coir, earthworm castings and limestone. I'll see you all very soon.